Hey now. Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. Whoa, I did it too much. How's everyone doing tonight? Sorry, I'm really trying to hit that 8 o'clock mark. We have a new coffee maker here. I'm trying to really be not wasteful. So we have a new coffee maker here, and it takes a really long time to start making coffee. So I can't go right downstairs and just grab some coffee anymore. I can. The Keurigs are still there, but I'm really trying not to waste, all those Keurig cups. Whoa, my phone is always like listening to me. I don't like it, but cool. Got my coffee. We got 2 flavors of LaCroix today. Excellent. We'll get to those in a second. I'll let you guys know what flavors those are. Oh yes, I had to whip out the Circle CI shirt. So Circle gives by far. I have no affiliation with Circle CI. At all the conferences I've been to, they sponsor a lot of DevOps conferences, a lot of DevOps days, things like that. They give the best, most comfortable shirts. So I have like 4 of these. Like, you'll see me wear this shirt a lot. It's not the same shirt. I have like 4 of them. They also have some good other colors. There's like a weird green one they gave me and a few other different styles. But I got like 6 or 7 Circle CI shirts, but they're always like, they spare no expense. They're like really comfortable. They wash well. But yeah, we'll definitely, if you're not familiar with Circle, tonight you will be familiar with Circle. But what's up? The cat was not. How you doing, Hicks? What's up, Adam? How are you guys tonight? I feel like I have a lot to say, a lot to tell you guys, a lot of updates to be made. First off, I guess this is the start. What's up, Sleepy Developer? I guess this is the start of quarantine for most people. Hopefully everyone's feeling all right. Hopefully everyone's, was able to get out there and get some food. Doing what we can, I guess, to slow the spread of the COVID-19. But yes, because of that, a lot of things are happening. I know a lot of people are disrupted. A lot of people, a lot of conferences and things have been canceled. First announcement it'll be going up. More information. There'll be a lot of information tomorrow. Follow me on like Twitter and stuff if you can. I'll post it here as well on the website. But 2 kind of big announcements coming out tomorrow. I'll give you one of them, which is Saturday, the 21st, which actually is my birthday. I always forget that my birthday's coming up. We're going to be hosting on here. Baltimore Code and Coffee is a meetup that meets here in Baltimore. They want to do a virtual meetup, so we're actually going to do a 3-hour Docker session. It will be a little different than what you've already learned. A lot of that same stuff will be covered, but we'll be taking a little bit different route on the second half of that. So if you are interested in, if you missed the Docker session, want to dive a little bit deeper, we're going to kind of pitch this as kind of like a super online meetup for kind of meetups who usually meet on Saturdays who are displaced around the country to kind of come into. No, I don't know how many people are going to be on it, but that will be for the Baltimore Code and Coffee group. So we'll be doing that. And I have a big announcement about next week in particular. So I think the whole country basically is kind of, for the most part, is on quarantine for 2 weeks. Everyone's kind of just working from home except for 2 weeks to kind of slow the spread of COVID-19 with coronavirus. But I think we're going to try to do something cool for that week. Everyone's going to be home. I mean, we're all going to be working on stuff, but I think we have an idea that we want to pitch to everybody. But the information will come out tomorrow. Still trying to figure out some logistics of it. But yeah, just keep on the lookout for that. I'll talk about it tomorrow on the Python bootcamp, and then again on Tuesday for this bootcamp again. So that should be interesting. So yeah. So that a lot of I mean, the TP famine of 2020. Luckily, we had just ordered a bunch of TP on Amazon before all this started. The grocery stores were pretty wild. Like Maryland declared a state of emergency on Thursday, I believe it was Thursday. It was Thursday. And I tried to run to the grocery store or the market, wherever you're located in the country. You say one of those 2 things. That was a big culture shock for me, going from closer to DC, where most people say grocery store, up to Baltimore, where everyone basically says market. Threw me off. Everyone makes fun of me when I say grocery store. whatever. I went. It was wild. Like, it was a wild experience. I should have left, honestly. But we actually, just timing was bad. We actually didn't have any food at all. Had to backtrack a little bit and get food that we normally don't get. A lot of processed stuff, but had to get what's still available. Like, they didn't have anything there. Yeah, I mean, if you like your veggies, you're good. So all the frozen veggies were gone, but all the fresh veggies were still there. So I got a lot of fresh veggies and cooked them up, grilled them up, so they should stay for a little while. But yeah, but hopefully everybody's good with that. Yeah, I am doing a talk at GopherCon. We still don't know that we still don't. GopherCon's not until June, so we still don't know if they're gonna push it back or what's gonna happen with it. So they're just keeping an eye on things now. But I am actually teaching the advanced Go course at GopherCon. I don't know, I'm on here somewhere. I think I'm on here. Serverless Go, introduction, next level Go. Next level Go is what it is. If you're interested, it's a full day workshop. First off, GopherCon is the kind of national conference for Golang. Or Go, the programming language Go that we talked about in the beginning. But yeah, we're talking about some cool things in there, some advanced concepts, because that's something I think people in previous years have been looking for, something a little more advanced than what they've been getting. So we're going to be doing that. So that should be fun. All right. I swear I had one more thing, but tonight's going to be fun. Tonight's also not going to be, this is not going to be 3 hours at all. Which is really nice, and you'll see when we get into it why that is. It's not going to be too long tonight. But we're going to head over and check out where we are. First off, again, congratulations. We like to celebrate when we get to new weeks. We are on the 11th of 12 weeks, which is super nice. I can't believe we made it this far. It's gone a lot faster than I thought it would go. I guess because I'm doing both boot camps at once. Like, it went by a lot faster than it went by the first time we kind of ran through this. But yeah, we're on CI/CD, and then we're going to be on the observability, and that's going to be the last of the technical aspects of what we're going to be doing. And then we're going to be diving into, the learning how to get a job, having a panel so you guys can ask questions, all the questions that you want. We'll have a number of people. Again, we are doing 2 panels. One on Sunday the 22nd for this one, and then the one for the Python one will be on the 25th. There will be more than just DevOps engineers on the DevOps panel, and there will be more than just software engineers on the software panel. So if you're interested in those, I suggest you check those out. It was pretty cool last time. We're gonna be pretty honest about things, and for the most part, anything goes. People will let you know what's off limits. We talked about salary and everything last year. People were pretty honest about that. So cool. Yes, it is in Orlando. All right. We do have slides. Let me get you those slides. So first off, you'll see me make a lot of fumbles tonight because we're extending the setup a little bit in preparation for what possibly might happen next week. So I have a second capture card in my computer right now, which this is going through, and like my mouse and this like server thing, like the KVM server is like all weird. So like it's like taking way longer to like switch over to the new screen, but it works better. And I'm moving the setup all around. And so if you see me do something weird, like a bunch, just go with it. Just let it be. It'll be great. Eventually it'll be great. I was hoping to have everything done, but today was wild. Today was actually really wild. Also, no, I got to throw this out here. I have to share this with someone who may care. So as many of you know, I'm on a weight loss journey, just a self-improvement journey. I actually don't care about the weight that much, but just really want to be healthier, happier. And I've never liked to run, like since I was in like elementary school. I never was a runner, even when I was way smaller. But I've been doing a lot of elliptical stuff, a lot of rower, but I've been running a little bit just to kind of switch it up. And I finally worked my way up to being able to, run a consistent mile, which before I got to this point, like in my entire life, I had only run like a mile straight, like twice. And that was because we had to do it in PE. And yeah, and like once in high school and like once in college. But today I ran my first straight through 2 miles ever, and it felt really good, and I was proud of myself. So I wanted to share. It just felt like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting to do it. I was just gonna do the normal mile like I normally did, and then I usually do some extra stuff after that. But yeah, I felt good after the first mile, and I got through like a mile on the lap, and I was like, let's just keep going. And I probably could have done more, but I think I sped up a little too much towards the end, and like my body started feeling funny. I didn't want to be too hurt for tomorrow because I do have to work out tomorrow too. But I don't know. I just wanted to share that. It was progress for me. Some people are out here running 5-6 miles a day. That's not me. But that was pretty exciting. I still weigh a lot, so like it felt good to like run 2 miles, still weighing a lot. So I'm excited about where I can go. So maybe I'll try to get ready for a 5K or something. I'm pretty quick, but I can't run that. I was never able to run that far. That was pretty exciting. All right, so anyone with the link can go ahead and access this, but appreciate it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if it crushes me. I'm already feeling a little bit sore. That's why I had to get this coffee, just to make sure like I could keep going. All right, let's paste this over here. Make sure everything's good. Yes, the gym. So the gym is still open. That is the thing that worries me. So it's nice here because no one's here. Like nobody is coming into the office here. It's been like this for a while. Like not many people are coming in. A lot of people are at the gym. I don't like it. I think the first case of coronavirus was like announced today, I think in Baltimore City. So I might have to stay away from the gym for a little while. Maybe just go, I don't know, somewhere where I can stay away from people. Just run to the park or something and kind of just run around and do some push-ups or something. But yeah, it's still open. It is absolutely still open. They provided, I guess, extra wipes. But yeah, it's too many people in there. I don't like it. What's up, Jumping Worm? Yeah, I hope everyone kind of gets through this unscathed. I'm a little bit worried. Like my parents are a little bit older, and it's affecting. Like they're in the the danger group. So I hope everyone who has family, keep an eye out. Make sure everyone's good. Be kind to people, man. If people need groceries or something, and you can get them for them because you're young, a little bit younger, immune system's a little bit stronger. See what you can do, but help out what you can. This is actually a tougher time for people than you think. I also been watching a lot of stuff about like why this stuff wasn't like why we're doing. I was interested in why we're doing this quarantine. I was like, people are going to do whatever they want anyway. But again, it's not to stop the virus. It is to slow down the transmission so that the medical staffs, all the medical facilities can keep up with treating the people because this does have the potential to crush our system. I think it's already happening in a couple places where people are dying of simple things that aren't coronavirus related because when the ER is already full of people getting treated for coronavirus. So just again, like I said, be kind during this time. Be thoughtful, man. Just everyone watch out for yourselves. Keep yourselves safe. Look out for you and your family. All right, let's get going. So this is an interesting one to be happening so late in the course. And I said that last time as well, but I still think this is still a good spot for it. Even though it is it's funny because when companies are talking about DevOps, they're usually either talking about infrastructure engineers that can do a little bit of coding, but they're almost or they're talking about, software engineers that can work on some infrastructure, but almost always they need you they're talking about your ability to automate the things that we're talking about tonight, which is CI, CD, and you usually don't see this, but a second CD there. This stands for continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. Continuous delivery and deployment are technically two different things. We'll talk about why we're talking about both later because you usually just see CI/CD. So again, focus tonight, as usual. The concepts are more important than the actual pipelines that we're going to set up. you're going to see when we get to the pipeline section, we're going to do some hands-on stuff. We're going to use Circle CI to set up some of these pipelines. I'm going to show you kind of how my current personal pipelines work. But you're going to see that like these pipelines are kind of just script runners. Honestly, they get more involved. They can get more involved, but at the heart of them, they're just kind of script runners. So we don't need to spend a crazy amount of time hands-on learning how to do it. We need to understand what problems they solve and what you can use them to do. All right, so CI/CD, common dev problem. CI/CD, CD is designed. These processes are designed to solve problems. What are some common developer problems? 1, Dave is on vacation. How do we do this again? So I think a lot of us in the industry have been here before. Someone goes on vacation and people do not know how to do things. This is particularly a problem when it comes to ops people, to be honest. But yes, but these are some of the things. You forget to run tests. Documentation gets stale. So we talked about documentation before. It can get old, and processes can be hard to understand. So when building a software project, usually they become large and unwieldy. So like as things go on, you kind of start to add the things that you need, add the tools, add the packages that help developers achieve the thing that they want to achieve. During that process, if you don't put processes in place, it can get very difficult to follow. The build process, we started out with just a simple Node application, but now this Node application requires these 10 things, even just a Docker build or something like that. It can be very confusing to understand, and the documentation for that can get stale. Documentation is like the first thing that kind of goes down the drain in a project. If you're on a project, documentation will get stale, guaranteed, but try to be as cognizant as possible to kind of get that going. But these are just some of the common dev problems. So how does continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment solve some of these things? First one, continuous integration. How do I know that my stuff still works? So first, I need to give a shout out to specifically, I'm not gonna give his last name, but a guy here named Charles and John. A while ago, actually, we did a DevOps presentation for Baltimore City's IT department to kind of just talk about how we were doing things at Fearless. And a lot of this information, I did ask if it could be used. I used the same information last time, but the information was very good. It was very concise. So just giving a shout out that this is not all my information. Some of it is, I've added some things, but I think it's fair to give that shout out. First thing, how do I know my stuff still works? So the way that you know things work is automated testing. Number one, is the first way, not the biggest way, not the first thing you should be doing, but just a way. So what is automated testing? Here, we have not yet talked about TDD, I don't think, or test-driven development. That's not necessarily hand in hand with automated testing, but TDD is a form of development. It is a method of development in which before you start anything, you write failing tests for things that you're going to be solving for, and then you develop your code to basically cause those tests to pass. It is an art form. What do I mean when I say writing tests? You can write code to ensure that the code that you, I know it sounds crazy, but you can write code to ensure that the code that you've written does what it's supposed to do. So if I write a function that is supposed to add two numbers together, I can write more code to confirm that this function is in fact doing what it's supposed to do. I can, run my code with specific inputs and validate that the expected output is supposed to come out. And that's kind of how it works. There's a few different methods of testing, automated testing. There's unit testing, which kind of tests those small unit kind of function level things. And then you've got, integration testing. Testing goes way deeper than this. And we'll find an opportunity to talk about all the different testing, but automated testing is going further than that manual clicking around. It is writing these tests to confirm that your code does exactly what it does. All right. The second thing is common vulnerability scanning. So something you commonly want to be doing, that you want to be doing to your code base, making sure everything's good there. Vulnerabilities can cause your things to break. They can also cause security issues, within your code. So that's another way your stuff still works. And then sending to developer environments. So this is an interesting one here. When you write code, I think we've all heard the term, works on my machine. I'm not sure why it doesn't work there. What's up, Draconian Developer? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. So glad to have you. But sending to a developer environment, how can we confirm that the things that we send to a developer environment are still working? They probably were working locally. How can we confirm that they are still working, or how can we be sure? All right, so this is what continuous integration is. Just right now, we're specifically talking about the CI portion of things. And so we're gonna dive into pipelines a little bit. So the CI/CD, usually people will call them CI/CD pipelines. What are these pipelines? These pipelines break processes down into chunks. We're gonna see that live. It's gonna be pretty simple. We're gonna take different pieces that we have, different pieces of this workflow, different pieces of this pipeline, and break it down into chunks. We're going to reuse those chunks if need be. This is an interesting concept. And then we're going to need to change how we think to be able to kind of really integrate these CI pipelines. And this is all, we're still in the CI portion, even though this does apply to the other things a bit as well. So take a look at this pipeline. This is actually a screenshot from Circle, and we can run through it, but you'll see this live. Basically, these are the chunks here. There's a build chunk. And there's a test chunk. So maybe it'll, it'll pull down the code from GitHub. It'll build the things that it's supposed to build. And then it'll test that code. The tests that you've written, those unit tests, those integration tests, any kind of testing, automated testing that you've incorporated into your workflow, it'll run those things. And keep an eye on these two things here, while they're two kind of running in parallel. Keep an eye on that. And then you can see here, there's a staging. You don't really know what it does, but it says auto deploy. And then this says production. It says deploy to production. But all of these have little green check marks, and this still hasn't done anything yet. These pipelines are kind of how you should be thinking. The process of CI/CD are these pipelines. It is moving information, moving your code, validating it and moving it through these pipelines, getting it from the developer's computer to an environment, to a server, somewhere else, the place that it needs to be, is what we're going to be, the goal of this and what we're going to try to do. Let me stop there for a second. Any questions about that before we go a little bit farther? Again, you don't know exactly what continuous integration is yet. We're not there yet. We're just kind of diving into the beginning of it. Does anyone have any questions about that? What's up, Planet Victoria? Welcome to the channel. I like the name. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see people's names when they're joining. Let's see. What's up, Dr. Buck? Wow, good to have you here. Happy Sunday. Problem is that a lot of devs use crazy localhosts. So yes, that is one problem that continuous integration, testing your code solves, or can catch early, is networking issues where your developers or you yourself have hard-coded kind of local host in places because you want to refer to your own machine, and you push that code up, and you want it to break. You want it to break so that you know what's going on before that goes out to production. So yes, that is a problem that this solves. Travis, yes, Travis is a great product as well. We used to use Travis originally. I like Travis. Travis is great. I think if you learn like what we're gonna learn tonight, you can easily apply to Travis. Travis is great. It sounds crazy until you do it, but much easier once you practice. I assume you're talking about the testing or TDD maybe, and that's very true. You did testing in a previous unit? Awesome. We'll do, tonight we're gonna probably have to hop into some tests to kind of break some stuff to show you how builds fail and stuff like that, but yeah. Yeah, writing unit tests is great. Actually, it's much easier than I thought it was when I was first learning how to do testing. I actually went to, there was like an international day of code, like meetup or something, where we did a whole day of TDD, which is very interesting. That was kind of my first foray into it. That was maybe like 4 years ago. But no, it was pretty exciting. It was pretty cool. It was much easier than I thought. It's hard to do it really well. And again, there's still some debate on whether or not TDD adds a significant amount of value or any value. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to think that way. Circle CI took off because of mobile app support. I actually don't know why they took off, but that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, what's up, D4 RK Nuts? What's up? Yeah, we do too. We use Circle pretty heavily here. I just, again, Circle, Travis, they're just so easy to kind of get, spun up and using pretty easily. So many test paradigms. How do I know where my test should live? Great question, Bible Clan member. Yes. Unit integration, API testing, Selenium. Yes, it does become very difficult to know where your tests live. I actually find it easier to know where they live when you're doing a kind of a microservices architecture, when you have many different services, because they can all just live right in your services. Makes it a little bit easier, but knowing where they live can be tough for sure. Keeping them up to date can be tough for sure as well. Knowing that you have meaningful tests, like you don't want to be just writing tests for the sake of writing tests. You want to be writing meaningful tests that let you know, that give you good information. And that's an art in itself. Like it takes some time to learn how to do that effectively. I never used Jenkins X. Like I said, I think I've been pretty honest about my disdain for Jenkins. Not a bad product, a frustrating product when you're used to managing it. Yeah, it's just, like, again, I like YAML. I think you can with Jenkins X now, but I haven't messed with it yet at all. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. That's interesting. That would be a reason why they would have taken off, being able to kind of emulate that or allow for Mac builds or iOS builds. That's interesting. Cool. All right. So now we're thinking about pipelines. We're thinking about how we get code from one place to another and are confident in it. How do we know that our code still works when we pass it from our local computer to a developer environment? How do we run automated tests against it? That's what we're thinking right now. That's what should be brewing around in your head. This one I want to throw in here just because this was pretty cool, that you can do parallel builds and tests. So the first cycle here, when you're thinking about these pipelines, this is a traditional pipeline on how you would think about it. So test A, let's say it takes around 5 minutes to run. Once that's complete, once it successfully passes, it gets passed along to test B, which takes another 5 minutes to run. And then, that gets passed along to test C, which runs and everything's good. Average pass is 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes for this pipeline to complete. It takes us 15 minutes to know that our tests are in good shape, or that our code base seems to be in good shape. And the average failure, depending on where it happens in here, is around 7.5 minutes. So after taking your code and after pushing it, you have to wait about 7.5 minutes on average to know if there are problems. One, you should probably be running some of these tests locally, but breaking builds happens all the time. That is what these pipelines are for. But we talked about here, I know we talked about it. Oh yeah, reusing chunks, breaking it down into chunks, reusing chunks as well. So that's what these cache dependencies are over here. So just like when we did our Docker files, remember when we, wrote a Docker file, and we wrote one of those, like one of the layers got set, and once it was built the first time, if it didn't change, that layer would be cached and it would be available for your all of your subsequent builds. The same thing can kind of happen here. This generally works because they do most of the time. Well, they are. This is Circle's kind of designed to do container-based builds. You can do non-container based builds, but they're they've kind of built around that concept. So that's really what they're utilizing there, and a few other things. There's some extra magic on top of there, but you can cache those dependencies to make your run much faster. So it doesn't have to do the same thing over and over again if there were no changes. But it can also run these tests in parallel. If you have your integration tests and some unit tests, and maybe you're using 2 different unit testing frameworks because you want to solve a few different problems, you can run those in parallel, which is great. It saves a lot of time, and you can get information on pass or fail. So average pass goes down now to 3 minutes. Average fail goes down to about 1.5 minutes. Again, which saves a lot of development time. This is a little bit more of because we're already thinking about pipelines, this was just to put some context around that there is some variability here and there's some ways you can make these pipelines great. It's not just about setting them up. You want to use them in a way that's effective for you and your team as well. But again, at first, you just want to get it to run. But yeah, so continuous integration. Continuous integration is basically taking that code that you have, getting it from your machine to a different location. Not even getting into a different location, to be 100% honest. That's kind of the whole process, but ensuring that your code that you're including into the code base is safe and is in working order. So generally this happens, and tonight you're going to see this is going to happen from us, pulling down a repo and pushing up to that repo, and that's going to automatically trigger the process that integrates our code into other code or into the main trunk of the code base. And that's really what continuous integration is. Again, just knowing that you are reliably, committing things to this code base. So you might say, hey, if that doesn't push things out to a new environment, if that doesn't get things to a developer environment, what does? So the second item here, so there's CI and there's CD. The first CD, this is continuous delivery. So this is actually like taking that code and delivering it, doing something with that code. So previously, continuous integration can take it a little further than it does. There's some caveats in here. There's some overlap in the delivery and integration, especially in the different ways that you can kind of manage code now. But continuous delivery is actually delivering that code in some manner. So how do people use my code? So the first continuous integration was, how do I know that my stuff still works? How can I be confident that my stuff still works? And this is how are people going to use my code? That is kind of the high level concept of how I want you to differentiate integration versus delivery. What's up, ASMR Junkie? How you doing tonight? Good to have you. So how do people use your code? One, you trigger the build. And again, this is usually done automatically most of the time. There are triggers and things inside of GitHub, which we're going to see tonight, that will start the continuous integration process. That continuous integration process will pull your code down, do everything it needs to do. It'll build, it'll rerun your tests. Everything looks all good. Then it'll build some artifacts. So what are artifacts? These are going to be the output of your build. So maybe if we were using Golang again, remember Golang is a compiled language that can compile to a single executable. So maybe that's our artifact. Maybe it spits out an executable. Maybe we generate a bunch of site files and we zip those up into a zip file. Maybe we're building a Docker container via a Docker file. And so maybe an image is our artifact. That's the thing that comes out of the build process. And so, yeah, it builds those things and makes sure that it's available for us. And then you put them somewhere. Then you walk away. So just like the FedEx person is doing over here, that's the process of continuous delivery. So this includes continuous integration. So triggers builds, runs your tests, making sure, how do I know that my code still works? It works. Now, how do people use my code? I build an artifact. I put it somewhere and I walk away. That somewhere could be onto a server. That could be into an some kind of file storage place. It could be into an artifactory like JFrog or something, but you build the artifact, you place it somewhere, and you walk away. That you have now delivered the code to be used if anyone needs to use it. It is not a requirement that it is, out into production or anything like that. Continuous delivery is simply giving a usable artifact to someone or something somewhere and walking away. That is the continuous delivery portion of it. This is a little exaggerated. Put them somewhere and walk away is a little exaggerated, just so I can separate out the delivery from the deployment, which is, they are different things. What's up, the solo coder? Welcome. Good to have you. Let me see. I gotta wait till your name pops up. It's too small over here. Asgarm, 1999. Were you born in 1999? Yikes. Well, I mean, that would be, no, never mind. See, in my head, I'm about to turn 30. I was born in 90. In my head, someone born in 1999 is super young, but you are over 20 years old. You're 21 years old. This is interesting. All right, does that happen? I am not in the Bay Area, Planet Victoria. I am in Baltimore, Maryland. Pretty far from the Bay Area. I wish I had Bay Area weather, but yeah. Does this happen at each stage, like staging, development, production? We're gonna see that in action, but yes, this could happen in every stage. It's up to you. But yes, this generally happens in every stage. And there are different ways to determine whether or not that's production or a development environment or a staging environment. And again, we're gonna talk about those things. So I know there are people here who don't understand what a staging or development environment is. We'll talk about those as we kind of get into it. But yes, it can happen at every single stage. Build and put in a storage bin. Yeah, that's, yes. That is you delivering the code. A usable artifact and putting it somewhere where it can be retrieved. In my last year semester of college, awesome, congrats. What are you studying there? I'm interested to know what you're studying. But cool, that's the delivery portion. Deliver it, deliver the package, walk away. All right, let's get over here. And then deployment. Computer science and math, dope. That's awesome. That is definitely awesome. You are smarter than me, for sure. All right, so the continuous deployment. So the first thing was, how do I ensure that my code still runs? The second one was, how can people use my code? And then the last one is, how do I update the website again? So this is the continuous deployment piece. So delivery was, providing that artifact. Deployment is an extra step in continuous delivery. And most people do not separate these things out. You do not have to separate these things out after this. This is just so you understand the difference. Most people do not do this. Most people don't, but we'll talk about that in a second too. But it's an extra step in continuous delivery. This is when you actually go ahead and deploy the artifacts. So you may think in your mind that, I assumed everyone does this. No, this is actually a fairly difficult step to get to at a lot of places. I guess people building new projects, brand new projects, can kind of do this a little bit easier because you can design everything around it. But this is, yes, this is actually deploying those artifacts somewhere. So taking them from that bin and putting them into, a server or somewhere where they're actually running, where the world can access them. Your customers, whoever is the consumer of your information or your application, can consume those things. This is an automated process. So this is to automate your deployment process. And it helps you to stop being afraid to update code or fix bugs or try new things once you kind of get to this state. Again, it can be difficult to get to this state. We'll talk about why as we're building out some pipelines really quick. But any questions so far about, actually, I think there's one more, I think there's only one more slide. Let's cover that one and then we can ask some questions. So did I need to say CD twice? Do we need CI, CD, CD? No, we don't really need CI, CD, CD. Remember, the deployment is kind of just an extension of the delivery. Some people include that delivery, as the deployment, kind of synonymous to some people. But I don't, and I don't think people should, because I think there's a difference between these things. This is I didn't make this up. Like, there are plenty of places you can go to see, people identifying the differences between CI, CD, and CD, the delivery and the deployment. So no, didn't really need to separate it. Continuous delivery does in fact sound scary. But the way that you can get to being able to do it in your organization, if you're trying to get your organization to take up this mindset, you build trust first, and then you keep improving. So you also don't need to, there's no more slides after this. There's a lot of back and forth. Organizations can be very adverse to this type of setup. And And one is usually because people are trying to dive all the way in and get everything great from the start. You don't need to implement this crazy thing, up front. Really, like I said, the tools that we're going to be using are basically script runners. And, you can start your process. You can start your DevOps process, your organizational DevOps process, or your journey into CI with some simple scripts. Like start automating, something very simple with your build process. That works, that counts. You don't, again, need one of these tools who are basically just running scripts for you to do that. So, yeah, that's all CI/CD is. It's not anything crazy. It is the process of, taking code, being able to automatically confirm that it is in good working order, to the best of your ability, as well as, doing the building that you need of it to develop the artifacts that you need for your applications to run, and automatically deploying those things to the places in which people can consume them. This is an automated process. These are the pipelines. It's going through those pipelines. And so because of these pipelines, it is most of the tools that are out there for you to use, show a pretty visual aspect of things. But first, let's talk about some of the tools that you do have available to you. So Jenkins is one. We've talked about it before. Jenkins is the OG of the CI pipeline game. Jenkins is good at what it does, but Jenkins is it's old. Jenkins is old. You need to write Java to do it. It runs in Java. You need to write Groovy and some other things, but it's kind of default open source. Jenkins has kind of an ugly interface, but it's notoriously difficult to deal with. And again, it's mostly because of when it was created, what problems it was created to solve. It has absolutely kept up with the times. It's extensible to do whatever you need it to do. It can do, if you need to build something, Jenkins will allow you to do it. It's got an extensive plugins system. It's a good product. It does what you need it to do. It'll get things done. It is just, it's caused a lot of people a lot of nightmares and a lot of problems when dealing with it. So people kind of generally pull away from it. People who've used it in the past generally pull away from it. But again, it's a good product. I've never used Jenkins X, but I've heard about it. I think Jenkins X is the kind of answer to, I believe it's the answer to Circle CI and Travis. For all workloads running natively on Kubernetes. Oh, hold on. CI/CD they need some punctuation in here. Is Jenkins X CI/CD for all workloads, comma, running natively on Kubernetes? So any workload that is already running natively on Kubernetes, or is it for all workloads, but Jenkins X is running natively on Kubernetes? Someone let me know. Someone let me know. It is not a container engine. Jenkins itself is not a container engine. Let's see. Jenkins is love. Jenkins is life. No, it's not. It isn't. I'm sorry. It's not. Let's see. Sort of systems, whoever's code changed broke the build would buy donuts. Yes, so that is a common thing for a lot of companies to encourage, both to make it a little bit fun, but also to encourage good practices. There's usually some type of bad thing in place. There's usually some kind of negative thing in place for people who break the builds. I know when I first got to Fearless, we had a whole purple dunce hat that if you broke the build, you would have to do that. Why is that? So during the CI/CD process, it goes through this pipeline. If your code is not working as intended, if tests fail, it breaks the build. It gives you an error. It lets everyone know, hey, the code that was most recently checked in is not working. So whatever branch you're on is no longer, usually people can no longer do anything with that until the build is fixed. Again, this encourages, one, it keeps you from pushing out broken code to production environments before people are consuming it, and make sure the code works. And so it stops what everyone's doing basically. So people have to resolve the issues before code is able to be kind of pushed through the pipeline again. So usually companies will enact something like buying donuts or something. I've seen people do push-ups and stuff. If you were to break the build, again, it's usually a fun thing. Usually it's not a big deal. Most of the time, it's not a big deal at all. It's just something fun to, like you'll see a flash of red and it's like, oh man, I broke the build. So now I got to do something stupid. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. I know CI/CD, it's been 4 years now, and I can tell you that we don't have errors in deployments anymore. It gets super simple. We also our errors are never any problems we have in production don't have to do with code that is the specific code that's deployed. It sometimes has to do with code that's not deployed and things like that, but that's a whole different process problem. Same actually. There's no issues with deployment. You may find bugs later from other things, but those are not things that should be. A lot of things are not things that should be caught during the build process. This plus a robust QA process afterward led to our support calls dropping considerably. Yes, people do not understand the real value of good testing and good QA. It can save you a lot of time. It can also save companies a lot of money. That's what's crazy. Like, a lot of people don't invest as deeply as they should in it. It can have you save a lot of money. There's plenty of stories out there about very simple issues causing companies millions in a very short amount of time. Again, a good QA process plus having a build pipeline, robust testing pipeline that you can be confident in can save the company a lot of money. It can save you a lot of time as well, to be honest. It takes a while to get set up. Once you do, it's great. I still can't believe you say Jenkins is love, but Jenkins works. I don't hate it. I just don't really want to work with it. All right, what is Kubernetes? I've heard of it. So Kubernetes is a container orchestration platform. It should be on. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube right now. But the last class that we actually did was an introduction to Kubernetes. So you can hop onto YouTube to check that out if you want to. Asgarm. Yeah, Asgarm. YouTube. There we go. There's a link if you want to check that out. It's like a 3-hour video on it if you want to see it. Okay. Cool. So let's get started. Let's kind of hop in. I told you tonight wouldn't actually be that long because these build pipelines are relatively simple. It does take time to, they're written in YAML for Circle CI at least. So we've been doing a lot of YAML. So YAML's not brand new to us. So it's not a new language we have to use. The problem with YAML is it's configuration. And so we need to refer to a lot of documentation to figure out what we have to do. And that can be confusing. It can take time to figure out builds. So I actually spent, Terrence was in here with me yesterday. I tried to switch from Circle to GitHub Actions. We're going to talk about some of the other options we have, but GitHub Actions, GitHub has one natively that you can use. And I could not, a very simple build, I could not get it to work. And again, it didn't have to do with how hard GitHub Actions is to use. It's because you're configuring something, which means you need to know what the thing accepting that configuration needs. So sometimes finding that information can be a little bit difficult. But yeah, so there's Jenkins, which is kind of the biggest, baddest of all of them. Been around for the longest. There is Travis CI. Travis is used for a lot of open source applications. So you'll probably see on a lot of open source GitHubs like Travis builds. But I would check out Travis CI. It's just as easy as you use a Circle. You don't need to pay for, yes. You can set up a free and open, like if you're working on a project, just click on this, it is free. If you'd like, you can do Travis. And GitHub Actions. Let's go to GitHub. And actually, let's see if there's an actual page. Man, I really could not get GitHub Actions set up. I broke everything. So not only is I like this, automate your workflow from idea to production. That's really what these pipelines also solve for, not just testing and things like that. It's a full automated process. So right now, with the the mastermind, the academy website, and I can show you. We'll make a change to it, and I can show you how quickly that goes out. But you push it to GitHub and you wait, and you watch the build process, and it does all that for you. Saves you a lot of time, gives you a lot of confidence. But GitHub Actions is one. It's really new though. GitHub Actions just became it just got put into general availability like I want to say 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. But they've been working with it for a little while. But it's the newcomer for sure. I like it. I do like it. The paradigm's similar, but is different as well. I like the way that they try to implement reusable code. But it has the same ethos as Circle CI, the same way Circle CI has orbs and stuff. But yeah, I was not able to get my build working with this. Got it real close. I got the build. The build worked. The build did in fact work. It was not doing what I wanted it to do, and I had no easy way of figuring out how to fix it. So I just abandoned it and went back to Circle. So maybe we'll mess around. Maybe we'll mess around with that tonight too, just to show you how different kind of pipelines work and kind of how you go about doing those things. So first things first, Circle. This is the application we're going to be using, or the platform that we're going to be using. Check it out. Go to circleci.com. I will paste this here. You can, I think everyone here should have a GitHub account now. You can use your GitHub account to authenticate and create an account here. So you do need an account. It doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to put in a credit card. Simply click the sign up link here and then sign up with your GitHub account or your Bitbucket if you have something else that you want to use. You can also just use your email if you don't want to combine all of your things like that, but it does let you authenticate through GitHub. So as long as you're logged into GitHub, you will be able to log into Circle CI, which again is super duper nice. Circle CI also has solid documentation. Solid documentation, which I like, and also again, you have a pretty significant free tier. It should be good for all the personal things that you want to do. Yeah, I doubt you're gonna hit this. Yeah, I doubt you're gonna hit this. If you are, you might just have to drop that $30. But yeah, this is good enough for. I've been using Circle for years for personal things. I've never hit any limits or anything like that. It does kind of not suck, but if you're working on a bunch of different things, one job at a time, basically means if you're working on a project collaboratively, it will only build one at a time and it'll queue up the other job. So let's say Terrence and I are working on an application, and I push code, and Terrence pushes a new branch maybe 4 minutes after me, and the build's not done. His will not start until mine is complete. So if that's something you may need, if you have a team or something, usually the free tier might not be enough to kind of make that happen. Yeah, and then there's some options in here on, if you need more than just these basic things to build. But yeah, for us, for right now, free's fine. Don't need to put in a credit card. Everything should be good to go for everything we're trying to do. So go ahead and do that. Authenticate with them. All right. Node has a somewhat steep learning curve. It depends on what you're coming from. Is Ruby still popular? Ruby's still popular, but it's not growing, and I don't think many people are choosing Ruby or Ruby on Rails for newer projects. I don't think it's definitely not growing. I don't think it's growing from the numbers that I've seen. I don't really hear many people talking about it, but there's still tons of Ruby jobs. A lot of things are still written in Ruby. I don't know. I don't think it's many people's first choice. Node has a somewhat steep learning curve. Yeah, it depends on what you're coming from. I think Node is just JavaScript, so Node's not actually a language. We talk about that. We talk about Node all the time. We refer to Node. Node is not. It's not a language. Node is just JavaScript. It's server-side JavaScript. So JavaScript is what powers your browser. It's the language of the web. Node was created to basically take that functionality that was originally just intended for front-end kind of web development and kind of allow you to use that on the server side of things. And Node.js is a framework for that. But again, we say Node because that's kind of, it's become synonymous, but it's just JavaScript. But I think JavaScript is hard to learn because it has magic. Like, it does a lot of things magically, which I don't really like. I've learned that it helped me become a better programmer once I was aware of specific rules that things like JavaScript just don't have, which made things a little bit harder for me. Is Circle CI preferred over Jenkins? And always no. There are things that Circle and Travis are not good for. You can make it work, but they're not good for. Again, Jenkins has a very robust plugin system. Jenkins, if you're not sure if you can do it, you can do it in Jenkins. You probably can do it in Circle, or Travis. Most likely you can do almost all things, but I think there are some things that make it difficult because of the paradigm of Circle and Travis and kind of the way that they're built. They're kind of built for newer, more modern applications, more modern technologies, and kind of approaching things in that way. Jenkins is, I don't want to dive too deep, but yeah, Jenkins it'll work for anything you want to make it work for, and you can extend it. You can create these plugins. You can do a lot of stuff to make it work for whatever you need it to work for. Let's see. Ruby seems to be big in the legacy category. That is true. It's becoming bigger and bigger in the legacy category. All on time. Server-side JavaScript scares me. That's fair. It used to scare me. I actually have learned to like it a bit. I don't love it, but I've learned to like it a little bit. What is replacing Ruby on Rails? I don't know. Yeah, I guess Python and Django. Yes, a lot of Ruby devs are jumping to Elixir. I don't know if y'all remember Alex, who was on here. He'll be on here again on the panel, but he's a huge Elixir fan. Yeah, we're actually probably going to be building something cool pretty soon for kind of the channel in Elixir. I don't know how to build it, but I think he's going to be building something. The frameworks are also not services or smaller endpoints. Yeah, that's true. I think that's true as well about frameworks. They're just a little less popular for sure. There's a lot of abstractions, a lot of things going on. All right, let's go ahead and let's build some of this stuff up. First, so after you get create an account, get logged in. I'll log in right now with my GitHub. All right, and so you won't see these things. So there's a lot of failed things here. I'll tell you why they're failed. These are all failed because of when I was trying to switch over to GitHub Actions. I didn't break the build this many times, but I just hadn't removed this in case I wanted to go back to it. So it was still attempting to build what I needed to build, but I had removed the necessary files. So I have a couple different projects set up here. Yours will not look like this. Yours will probably be empty and probably prompt you to try to set up a job or to add a project. And so basically, because this is linked to your GitHub, don't these things look familiar to you? These are different repositories that are in my GitHub account. So I'll go there now and take a look at what's in the mastermind repo. And again, there are things like the main website, which is private. There's nothing important here, but this is just a private repo for the mastermind.io website. This is called The Gospel, which is the Academy website, because this is actually intended to be something different. I just never changed the name of the repo. And it has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with the truth that this platform was supposed to kind of send to the world, but I just never changed the name. So that's there. That's also private, but this is the repo Jack Blackjack that we did for our last Python project last week. So if you're interested in that, we built a game of blackjack for Jack Black. It's a mess. It's a mess. There's a different. It's not the master branch isn't where we did it. We did it in a different branch, and it is a wild. It's a wild ride. If you guys want to check that out, but we did it kind of stream of consciousness. But there's a bunch of repos in here, and Circle will get access to all of those repos. Why does it need access to all those repos? Because if you want to set up these things to be built, you have to create a connection between GitHub and Circle to kind of watch these things, set up some webhooks so that it can read those things. So that's what you'll see here on this projects page, and you can set up that project. We're gonna make a new project in a second to make sure to set it up and show how it works. Once you have a project, all you have to do, once you kind of set up the connection there, you click through a few buttons, you let Circle know what kind of project it is. Or you really don't even have to, but they'll give you a little bit of stub code. But basically, all you have to do once you set up that connection is to place a configuration file, a single configuration file inside of your repo. Once you put that there, every time you push code to GitHub, Circle will be looking for that, and it'll be looking for that configuration file, and it'll read that configuration file, and it'll do the things that you asked of it. So first thing I'm going to do is give you a quick dive into what one of those configuration files might look like. And I'll show you the actual ones for the actual ones that I've written. And you may think it's going to be this big thing, but just like the Docker files that we looked at, not always. Sometimes they can be pretty long. They can get pretty long, but these are not going to be pretty long. Sir, actually, it's not going to be here. It's going to be. Do I even have it here? Mastermind IO. I don't know the last time. How to get repo. Hold on. Static themes. 1 second. Did I just download this? All right, that's fine. Not a problem. You know, we just delete stuff over here. Cause, I don't know what I just deleted, but it's fine. It's fine. None of it's important. None of it. Everything that's important is in GitHub or backed up somewhere. Let's go ahead and let's copy these down real quick so I can show you what they look like, even though I could show you in here. Let's do, doesn't really matter. These are both Hugo sites. All right, so we're gonna clone this down really quick and take a look at the file. So all I did in this repo, let's go into mastermind.io. All right, so there's this .circle folder, which I created. If you go in here, .circle CI, there's a single file. There's a single config.yaml, and that's what it needs to be called. And let's take a look at that config.yaml. All right. How many lines are in here? So there are 33 lines that are in here, and let's take a look at what it is and what it's doing, and maybe we can start to see before we break down what is in what goes in these things. Maybe we can break down just by looking at it, kind of what is happening here. This looks very similar to what you saw inside of the Docker section, checking out a version. And then we have jobs here, and knowing YAML that this underneath is probably the name of this job, which is build. And it says Docker here, so you don't have to do a Docker build. This here is telling it to go ahead and use Docker to do this build. You do not have to do that. That is optional. But I am using I'm using Docker to do my build, to do what I need to do. So this is a Hugo site. Hugo is a static site generator. So basically you write, instead of having to build the site out yourself, or to put it on a server and kind of host it, it basically, you set all the content up for your site. You write these markdown files, or HTML if you want to. and you set up these themes, these templates, and you kind of set everything up and you build the site. And when you build the site, it'll take all this information that you've provided to it, it'll kind of mash it all together, and then it'll render you out some HTML files that you can just sit somewhere to be served. This is really nice. Static sites can be hosted for super cheap off of S3. So we talked about S3 in the cloud computing section. We just mentioned it shortly that it could be used for static site hosting. These sites are in fact hosted out of S3. It's very, very cheap. I'll show you how to get stuff there in a little bit. But we can see here we have an image. We know what Docker images are now. I'm using the one that they set up for CI builds, Hugo Latest. You've seen that paradigm before, so I'm using that container image here. I set a working directory, so this is kind of how we were doing things inside of our Docker file, just letting it know where to start working from. We can set up some environment variables. So this is starting to seem a lot like maybe your Docker Compose YAMLs. We can set up some environment variables for this container. It's a Hugo public is what we want to set it up. And then we set up some steps and we have some run commands. And doesn't this right here look exactly like a Linux command to you? Just an apt update, you've seen that, and an apt install git curl and unzip. So I'm installing 3 different packages, git curl and unzip. You've seen that before. And then you see this dash checkout here. This is a paradigm that exists kind of just in Circle. It'll go ahead and it'll check out the code for this project. And so it'll do this as well. Don't worry about this. This is just a git command to deal with some things with Hugo. And then I'm installing the AWS CLI. Why would I need to do that? And these are just normal Linux commands that I would run as if I was scripting this out to install the AWS CLI. And then I'm running another Linux command. And then I have a new step called deploy, and I'm deploying the AWS, and there's just more Linux commands. So this is really just a big script. It really is just a big script broken down in a few different ways that's consumable by Circle CI. It's really not that complicated. I know, again, it may look a little confusing right now because YAML can be a little bit confusing, less confusing than JSON, but it's really just a big script runner. You can do everything that your CI process can do for you manually. That it can do for you automatically, you can do manually. You would have already most likely done it manually before setting this up anyway. So basically you're gonna be taking the things that you've done manually and automating them in the paradigm in which Circle wants you to automate them. And that is really all you're doing. It's not anything more special than that at all. Like, it's really not more special than that. Cool. So that's just an intro to that. Just to show you what one looks like. My one for mastermind.io and for the Academy website is actually the same exact Circle config that just pushes to a different bucket, which is nice. And then you can do cool things like the only thing that's different here is this pushes here. It builds the same way, pushes here instead. You can also see here, oh, never mind, it uses them by default. So this actually also has some custom, what's it called, environment variables and things set up that I set up through the platform of Circle. But yeah, let's hop back in the Circle and show you how to set up something new. Let me hop back in the chat real quick. Let's open up our first LaCroix for the night. Oh, also, before I check the chat, I saw that the Prime again. Apparently, I learned on Twitter that he's also working on a LaCroix sponsorship. So I don't know if it's better for us to fight for it or if it's better for us to work together for it. But one of us has to get it. I don't know the background behind his desire for the LaCroix sponsorship, but I don't think it's as powerful as our desire for LaCroix to really help out the coding, programming, engineering community. Don't you want to do that, LaCroix? Refreshing, very refreshing. That was lime, and I've got pamplemousse available for once this lime runs out. Oh yeah, Terrence, we're gonna get it. They're coming over to the dark side. All right. Let's see. Let me check. Oh man, you guys are chatting away. Let's see. ZSHRC, it's there, but it shouldn't be there. It's not being used right. Actually, am I using ZSH on here? I should be using it. I'm not. Yeah, I don't like that. Ugh. Ew. I mean, even though this is nice, you know, it looks good, and you'll see how I did this cool thing over here. Every time I open up a new one, I get a new emoji. See, that's cool. All that's cool, but that's gimmicky. We get stuff done over. Oh, hold up. It didn't. Okay, there we go. Gave me two of the same. I didn't like that. Maybe we'll switch back to. Maybe we'll start using ZSH again. I don't know. I do like form over function sometimes. So we'll see. Between YAML and YAML extension. So yes, Uno Plank, you got it, Blah7. The only difference between YAML, YML and YAML is the spelling. They both work. The spec for YAML, I've looked this up. The spec for YAML says use YAML, but I think most people use YML. I see YML most places, even though the spec says it should be YAML, YAML, but they're the same. At least everything I've seen and what I looked up, they're exactly the same. Netlify free and easy. Yes, Netlify is pretty dope. Netlify is pretty dope. I can't argue with that. I use S3 because I plan on using other AWS resources for extending both of these sites, which I could probably still use Netlify for, but I just kind of like to keep everything in-house. And again, it's changed per month, so I don't care. Doesn't Heroku use AWS? I believe they do piggyback off of AWS, pretty sure. Netlify super easy, it really is. We've gone Jorg Yetsen. We've gone through that the Docker I don't know or joke a bunch of times in the Docker section. I'm sorry, you're late to the game on that one. Let's see. Yes, LaCroix gang. I mean, honestly, the lime's pretty refreshing, and I think we also have like a regular flavored one. But I feel like I don't like non-essence LaCroix because I don't think you're legally allowed to say these are flavored because they're naturally essenced. And we all know that 0 calories plus 0 sweetener plus 0 sodium equals innocent. That's the equation that is on this can. It's on all the cans. I don't really know what that means, but I don't think we're allowed to say they're flavored. All right. Nope, I'm not doing anything ZSH related. Yes, flavored static. Yum, I like that. They should put that on the cans. I bet you for a lot of people, TV static would sound like an interesting thing to be tasting. All right, is Circle CI just running tests that you have in your code? Yes. Well, Circle CI just does what you tell it to do. It does not have to run tests. You are creating the pipeline. It is an automation layer that you have to create. Generally, it's just running. It's running the tests that are in your code automatically for you. So the developer should be running the tests themselves before pushing their code anyway. Usually this confirms that usually a developer may be, pushing it into a certain branch, their own feature branch, maybe looking to push it, merge it with the rest of the code. And maybe it'll run, when they run it against their stuff, everything will be good. But what happens when that code gets merged together, when everything kind of gets pushed together, what happens and, who's going to run that? Do you need to then pull down master and rerun the code against that? This is, creating this pipeline so you don't have to manually do these things. And if your developer forgets to run it, if you forget to run these tests or whatever, your pipeline can do it for you so that you can catch problems before you do anything. What's up, Neo-Socratic? Someone else joined before that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. 190 a year for ZSH. I'll take it for now. It hurts for me to, go against my morals of Well, these are part of my morals. Again, I do enjoy function over form. There's a lot of crap I put up with in Linux so that it looks good rather than working well. But like, if he does that, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I do not use ZSH as well. I'm not doing it. I gotta stick to my morals for now. Just for now. Come back to me on that. I had a lot of trouble using WSL on ZSH on WSL, or at least getting it to look good. I used it, but it didn't look good. 190K for working with ZSH. I feel you. Where's the sign up sheet? I don't know. Well, salary is 25. I feel like 25 is more than I was making before I walked in today. So I don't remember what my last salary was. Maybe that's an app we should build, is how much I'm currently making according to Blah 7, so that every time we join, we know how much I'm worth. But yeah, all right. So let's set up a pipeline. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's actually we've used it before. The only reason I like using this is because it's an entire website that you can like look at. But let's go to GitHub real quick. Actually, first, let me show you how pipeline works. So let's say I want to make a change to the mastermind website. What happens with this? And how does this pipeline work? How do things work? Let's walk you through it real time. I think that is important. And I think it'll make more sense if you see it happen real time really quick. What I want, mastermind. CD, is the gospel here? Oh, it is. Is this a Git repo? It is, in fact, a Git repo. So let's make a change to this. So let's say this is just a node site. So let's vim. Actually, I don't even know what's in here. Content, curriculum, public. What changed in here? Index.xml. Let's change. Seems wrong. This seems very wrong. Categories. XML. What is this? Layouts. Hold on, something's not right here. Something's not right here. Well, we're gonna change something. We're gonna change something on the main page. And if it breaks, great. If not, a better way to boot camp. Let's say welcome. Let's add in a little a better way to boot camp. Mo better. See, look, we got some feedback from the copywriters, and they say you should put Mo better at the end of there. And so we have changed our website. Well, see, what is this? What change? You know what? No. Nope. No, I don't like this. Actually, dash hard. You shouldn't do this. I don't know I don't remember changing anything. So what we're gonna do is first, we're gonna reset. All right. Maybe this will be better. Content. Content. Oh, I deleted it. That's great. Okay. Here we go. Now everything's working right. So now this is the site that I know. All right. Public. There shouldn't be any XML. What? Do I not know? Resources. No. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the website. Oh, here we go. All right, cool. Now let's change this instead. So maybe let's go down to circle. Let's change something. CI/CD, circle CI. We'll add another line. We're doing it live. All right. So we had the need to change the website, and we made some code changes. Great, excellent. We can do our git status and see what the status of this is. So what normally would happen, the way that you push and that you build a static site like Hugo, is I would do that. I would make my changes, and then I would do Hugo to build it. Hugo is the only command that you need to go ahead and build it. And we can check the site out locally. So Hugo serve will actually start up a little server here for us to check out. So let's check out this here. Localhost 1313 is the port that it runs on. And again, it'll tell you here what to do if anyone wants to check out Hugo. But again, this is the site. It looks just like the site as is, but if we go to intro to DevOps and we scroll down to the circle, oh, come on, the server. No, every time I go off screen, all right, there we go. Scroll down to the CI CD part, and we're doing it live. That's not a part of the main website. That is something that we have since added. We're looking at it locally on our machine and we're saying, yo, that looks dope. That looks great. We did exactly what we wanted to do. Everything looks amazing. So we're ready to go now. So I can say, all right, I'm ready to push my code up to master. Terrence has checked this out for me. And I add it. I'll just add everything. It's gonna delete that folder. What? New file, content. Well, hold on. What's happening? Where are these XML things coming from? I don't know where any of that's coming from, but I'm gonna push it anyway because YOLO, and it'll be fine. I actually think I do know where they come from. I'm pretty sure I know where it comes from. I think it's a new thing with the newer version of Hugo in this particular theme as well that I just wasn't used to. We'll go ahead, we added it all, git commit -m. We did it live. And I'm gonna push it. It's going up to GitHub now. Excellent. So when it goes to GitHub, remember I said all this stuff happens automatically. What it'll do is, let's take a look at our current workflow and check this out. Whoa, this looks different. This looks way different. This is not what Circle CI looked like for me at first. Okay, so we have a new workflow running. It has the git commit that we did. So again, it's taking a look at GitHub and it's keeping an eye on this, and it starts to run. And right now, this workflow is running. This is bothering me. This is a new UI, and it's really confusing me. So it's already done. This is a pretty short build, but take a look and let's start comparing what is in this build process to what was in that file that we looked at. So spun up environment. So this is actually, we know that we've seen something that looks like this before. It's pulling the container CI builds Hugo latest. Where have we seen that at? Again, we've seen that in circle config. We've seen that when we said we're going to use Docker and that we're going to use this image. So it goes ahead and it starts up the environment by pulling the image that's here. And so it gives you an output of everything that happens. And again, like I said, this is just a fancy script. It's not anything special. So it's just running through the different sections. Also, what does this remind you of? This reminds you of those layers within Docker. So remember we said we could reuse these chunks. You could chunk it out, reuse them. That's what these things are here. Each of these different sections is kind of a new chunk that can be reused if it was fine already. And so, you know, it set up some environment variables for us and let us know what those are. It did the apt get update and install the git curl and unzip. So remember how we ran this here? You know, that kind of created its own little line here. And then it checked out the code. So pulled the new code that we just pushed. And you can see here how we ran that checkout step. And then we ran a git submodule sync. And it goes ahead and does this. So it gives you the output at every step of the way. And if any piece of this fails along the way, the entire build will fail and the code won't go out. So it did in fact deploy to AWS for me. It uploaded all the new files that we needed to upload. If you went to the website right now, you would not see them. Why wouldn't you see them? The only reason you would not see them currently is because the site is cached. It's sitting behind CloudFront. We talked about CloudFront a little bit, which is a content delivery network. So you're learning a little bit more about AWS, but I'm gonna clear those caches real quick so that you can see the change that happens right here. So let's log into AWS real quick. and do that. So I could actually automate into my process the clearing of CloudFront or the invalidation of CloudFront if I wanted to. I don't think that's necessary for this site. My CloudFront has a time to live, and I just wait for that to expire. So none of my updates are that important, and if they are, then I'll just manually do this. To be honest, am I in the wrong? Yeah, I'm in the wrong thing. Sign in really quick. Different account. Oops. And after this, we can build one really quick we're going to write our own for the Node.js website. Let me get logged in because I do in fact have my phone set up to do this today. To get logged in. So CloudFront. Maybe I should distribution. What's this? Bootcamp. Invalidate. I'll just invalidate. I'll just /star. It doesn't really matter. I'll invalidate everything. But this will show you that, so like it did actually push the updated code to where it needed to be. So it actually did all 3 steps. So it actually did it kind of did CI. It's not running any tests. I'm not running any testing. Yes, I am actually. No, I'm not. I'm not running any tests. I thought I was doing like the only test that people generally do against things like Hugo are making sure that your HTML is valid, which I'm not too worried about, to be honest. So I'm not actually running any tests here. I'm going to show you how to run tests when we do it with the Node.js site, but I'm not running any tests. I'm just building it. Basically, I'm pulling it, I'm building it, and it is going up there. I also want to show you something else as well. There are better paradigms for this, but check this part out right here. I'm saying if circle branch equals master, then run this code. So we learned about conditional statements. I say, if the circle branch is master, then run this stuff. Else, echo not master branch, dry run only. I'm going to show you what that means. So you can take action depending on what branch it is. You can actually specify this. Circle has a paradigm for this. I don't know why I did it this way, to be 100% honest with you. Circle has a way for you to check which branches. So we talked about branching in GitHub. You can take different action depending on what branches you're on. So let's say maybe for the development environment. So let's say maybe you have your local environment, on your computer. Maybe you have your own development environment. So maybe I have an environment that is aaron.mastermind.io. And this is where I push my code, to kind of integrate the code and to test things out in a real environment. And maybe I run a specific suite of tests that go here. Maybe I run all the tests, or maybe I only run a subset of tests when I go to my environment. Then when things get promoted from my environment to another environment, or from my machine to another environment, like test or staging or something like that, maybe I want it to run a whole different suite of tests. And so you can take specific action based on the branch that you're using, based on the tags that you're using, based on the different kind of code structure that you're pushing. So that's just something that you can do that I think is very important to know, and I'll show you that real time as well. I'll change my branches and run something that is not this to show you that it will not actually deploy my code if it's not the master branch. This is good for a number of reasons, but yes. But yeah, so that invalidated, it's probably already done, but if I reload this page now, check this out live on the site. So I did all 3 parts. I did the CI, I did the CD, and then I did the CD. So what was the delivery? The delivery was actually pushing these files. The artifacts that it pushed were the actual built files, which it pushed into S3. So I have an S3 bucket here, and I have bootcamp.mastermind.io, and look at the timestamps on these. It's March 15th, which is today at 9:22. So I ran that a couple minutes ago, and there's new files here. So it actually pushed all these artifacts into the place that they needed to be. And then my website is hosted out of this bucket here. So it automatically deployed it to production. Again, the only reason you couldn't see it immediately was because I use another layer to get this information to you that we had to go ahead and handle. But Yeah, pretty. I have a very, like, this is a very simple process, and this is actually how a lot of things are. Let me actually show you. Well, I'll show it to you after. Let's start building out our own right now with, let me show you what happens when I run a different branch really quick. So let's say git checkout. This song is, I don't like this song at all. It's like throwing me off. Are we playing Mario or I don't know. All right, that's better, I think. Come on, mouse. There we go. Git checkout -B to give me a new branch. Let's call this branch stream test. All right, so this is a new branch here. Git, actually, I don't even need to add anything, I don't think. I don't make any changes. I should have known that. All right, so push a new branch. And so Circle actually looks out for all of these things. So what's a branch? Again, a branch is a whole different, not another branch of code, but it's a different lineage of code, basically. So I basically took this master code and I made a new lineage of code that I could then do whatever I want with. And that's this test this stream test branch right here. So Circle does in fact pick these things up. And you can see here the branch that it picked up with stream test, and you can see that it's done. So let's take a look at this success. And it did in fact get here, and it says deploy to AWS. And this is why you wouldn't want to handle this here. You would actually want to use the paradigm in which Circle has for you to be able to do this. But it says else echo not master branch dry run only, and then it echoes this right here, not master branch dry run only. And if I look at my S3 files again, we will see that the files did not get updated because still the same 922 timestamp, because it didn't actually push there. So it does, again, it's just a big script. It's really just a big script here, but it does run. You can take action based on the different branches that you have. And again, maybe with the node one, we will set it up to do something different. So let's set up a brand new thing. Let's basically take a copy of the Node.js website, because it's open source. It is running, Node.js, so it does have a fair number of packages. There are tests in there. I'll show you what happens when you break a build. I'll show you, how to actually implement running tests and kind of checking those things out. So let's do that. What's up, Snake P1 Skin? Yeah. Yes. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. All right, let me catch up on this chat. You guys have been extra chatty today. It's hard to keep up. I use a Wix site. Never felt shame before, but I don't have time to start a new project. So I'm all the way in on Wix sites for just information to websites for things that aren't important. I think Wix has gotten really good. And I recommend it to people all the time, to be honest. Everyone doesn't need to build their own thing. Yeah, I recommend it all the time. It's time consuming to build your own website, for sure. You don't need a super complex CI/CD pipeline at all. And we're gonna build one right now. I'll see if I can pull up a tutorial real quick to hand to you. I never noticed the background music. I can hear it. I can't really work in the silence now because of it. But man, it was that song was not good. All right. What? Hey, no problem. I appreciate you giving us a follow. Yeah, we're just learning how to, how people at Google, people at Microsoft, all the places that I'm just showing you how they get code from their laptops out to the world. So let's go ahead and let's set up our own little project. We are going to grab, oh my gosh, this mouse situation. All right, let's go to Node.js. Search all of GitHub for it. I know we used this before, but it's a nice site. and we're gonna build it from basically scratch. We're gonna build the pipeline. So also the thing about what's interesting about specifically building these pipelines, circle and stuff is, unless your job unless you're working at a place where there's like constantly new projects being spun up, or you're still like constantly building upon a project, what's frustrating sometimes about about circle or like build pipelines period is you basically set them up, and you'll have to add to them over time, but you basically do all the work up front, and then you kind of don't do a lot with the configuration and stuff for it. So like, I'm certainly not a pro at just like sitting down and just like writing out some circle configs, because like it's just not something that I do. Most people do like consistently. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun just going through the configuration and trying to figure it out together. But here, where's Node.js? How do I get users? Node.js org. Here we go. So Node.js.org this is a good one to do because this has tests in it. So there is in fact a test folder here, and it has some tests that we can run. So let's go ahead and let's clone this really quick. We'll clone it. I'll paste it in the chat over here. If you want to do the same thing, we'll paste it here, and they probably already have some type of build thing in here. Maybe not in this branch. We'll see. They might do release branches or something. Let's get back out of here. Let's go into our DevOps folder. DevOps Bootcamp Jan 2020. Let's make a directory called CI CD. And let's clone this bad boy. All right, so this is a Node.js site. I already have Node installed. I should have NVM and NPM and everything, but let's take a look at what's in here. So, I have a build.js. What is this? All right, maybe we should read the README so we know what to do. So we know how to, I don't like that. So that we know how to build it. And then we can use that README to know what to do. Let's see. So it looks like to get started, they just want us to npm install to get all of our dependencies, and npm start should spin up the application. We get some build options here. Cool. So let's figure out how to run these tests. I don't know what it's using for tests. Let's look in the test directory. Vim anchor markdown. All right, so it's got a test here. And so basically tests are basically running these assertions that basically say, hey, go ahead and run this bit of code. I'm gonna give you some input, and when I give you this input and run the code, I expect to get specific output. So you can see here, it's basically saying like it's running this. This is the name of the test. It's testing that the code correctly parses markdown heading without links. And then it gives you some options that they're passing in some data here, setting up some data, and they're basically running anchor markdown heading. This is a function. This is a function that exists in another file. They're importing this function here, and so this is how you test these functions. And they're running it with this input. So they're passing in text, they're passing in level, they're passing in raw. And when they do those things, they're expecting that it'll have this output. And so I'm gonna go ahead and run the test now. I don't know how to run the individual tests, but usually I can check the Vim. I don't know why I did that. I can check the package.json to find out what scripts we have available to us. And it looks like we can run npm test. When we run test, it is going to run all their tests. So it's a bunch of different tests. So it looks like it's going to run a linter. So test lint. So linting checks the like actual syntax and the formatting of your code. So that's one type of test that you can run. So it looks like this is going to do that. Looks like it's going to check our markdown as well. Yeah, it's gonna run a bunch of different things. Linkinator, I don't know what that is, but it's gonna run a couple of different types of tests. So if I do an npm test, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? It didn't work because it doesn't know what those things are, because I never did an npm install. So what does npm install do? Npm install, there's basically a file in here, that package.json that we're just looking at. Again, all of this stuff is very Node.js specific. This is not something that you need to know. I'm just telling you what we're doing right now. But it basically sets up all the dependencies that we need to run this. Remember, we talked about dependencies inside of the Docker section, all the different packages that are needed to make this run. See, there are 922 of them, which sucks. This is a reason why Node kind of sucks, to be honest. But it downloaded all these things for us so that we can go ahead and use these things. I run an npm test. It's running through a bunch of tests. So it runs the linter, it runs some unit tests here, it runs a bunch of different tests, and we're waiting for it to kind of finish out. And let's see what the output is once it's done. All right, so tests, 48 of them. All 48 have passed. We have some check marks. The test names are descriptive, so we know what the test is actually testing. Correctly parses markdown heading with non-English characters. Should not be an LTS release. So it's testing all of these things in the code base. So let's break one of these tests really quick. So we'll go to tests, scripts, anchor, markdown.txt. This is the one we were just looking at. So I know it's expecting this thing here. So let's break it. I'm gonna change it to not. So this will be like, let's imagine two people are working on this thing. They're extending the functionality, but the changes that they made causes this function, this anchor markdown headings function, to operate in a different way that it did before. And now we're getting back different data. These tests will show you or expose that to you later. So if I run it now, this should actually fail. What's up, Dowright? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the raid. What's up? How are you doing? What's up, everyone from the Dowright community? Twitch is a pretty cool community. Glad to have you. Maybe I'll let everyone get through their, what's that thing called? All of their commercials. But yes, welcome. What were you guys doing tonight on your channel, Dowright? I'm interested to know. I know you're almost always doing some Python and some vulnerability stuff and fancy stuff that I don't know about, but what were you guys up to tonight? Cool. So you can see here that we caused the test to fail. So 48 tests, 47 of them passed, 1 failed, and it actually gave us an error code and let us know that it failed. It let us know some other stuff, a bunch of output here that's actually probably not related, to be honest. But this did in fact fail. This will cause a build to fail, which is great. So if someone forgets to run this, or is not, it misses this, or if it's something that only breaks in another environment, this is how the test can help you know what's going on. So, all right, how do we now automate this stuff? Like, how do we actually set up a build for this if we wanted to do that? Let's do it. So let's push this. I'm gonna rename this folder real quick. What do we want to rename this? We want to rename this to Node.js 2 Mastermind CI/CD. All right. So how do we, let's make this say, man, I spelled that way wrong. Change it again. Mastermind CI/CD to master. Wow. These fingers, they're fat. Fat fingers. All right, there we go. So let's make this a Git repository, even though it already is. I'm actually gonna remove it. And then we're gonna remake it a Git repository. We initialized an empty Git repository here. Watching him writing his DNS firewall thingy again. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Is it functional? Yeah, I've been on there a couple times seeing that. Yeah, I actually like network. I said it during the during the AWS portion that networking is my weakest area. So I definitely might want to check that out so I can learn a little bit more about networking. So let's make this a Git repository real quick. Scroll to the top. Oh my gosh, this mouse thing is gonna kill me. Wait, so I know why it's doing what it's doing. I just don't know how to fix it. All right, I'm just gonna scroll. I'll just slow scroll to the top. Oh, no, that's not, no. Repository. All right, let's create a new repo real quick, a new public repo for everyone. And we're gonna call this mastermind-CI/CD. This is where we're gonna write this at. Learning how to do CI/CD with circle CI. Great, excellent. We don't need a README in there. We're gonna create it. I should have just forked this, to be honest, but I don't know why I did it, to be honest. So we already have one. We'll paste this. All right. Oh, I've seen this before. Didn't match any. Git push -u origin master. I might have to just delete the Git repo to do it again. Why didn't this work? Oh, maybe I'm just gonna remove it again. You can't hold me back. I need it to be HTTPS because I don't think that I set up keys on this computer. But I just removed .git. Ooh, it has a .github, which means it probably has GitHub Actions in here. Vim .github. Yeah, it does. We're gonna remove it because it'll build. Let's see. So now in it, let's see if I can fix it this time. Origin master. What am I doing wrong? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Someone tell me what I'm doing wrong. This is right. Failed to push some refs, new repo. Let's see. Let's Google it. Failed to push. New repository. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Oh, is it because really? Conclusion that you do not have a master branch in your local repository. What? Oh, that makes sense. That actually makes perfect sense. I didn't add anything to be committed. Git commit initial commit -m. That makes perfect sense. I don't know why I actually did that. All right. I didn't make it track anything. All right, ignore all this. This is all Git stuff. We're not worried about that right now. Oh, actually we are. I mean, it's a major part of CI/CD. Oh, come on. Mastermind. Okay. Now we're set up so we can actually start writing some code. We need to remove this, but whatever. It's fine. All right, so we refresh. Now we have this here. We found a potential. Oh, look at that. View security alert. Oh, well. I'll share this with you if you want to If you want to clone this, it is public. Feel free. And I'll put we'll put the stuff in there so that you can grab it later if you need it. All right, so let's head over to Circle and let's learn how we set up a new project. So this is inside of our GitHub account. So we should now be able to see it from our projects tab. So the projects tab is gonna be over here on the left. And again, this is a new UI. I've never seen this UI before, and I use Circle almost every day. So I might be a little confused here, but there's a projects. Okay, this is the projects tab right here. Click that, it'll take you to all your projects. Let's go ahead and set up this project. So check this out. They give you, you pick what the language is that you're trying to build, thing is you're trying to build, and it'll give you some stub code. It'll give you some things to do. So again, it's already on Node, which is nice. So we'll copy this and we'll take a look at what it is. You don't have to take this. This is again for you to learn how to do some things. So I can click start building. Oh, this is fancy. I didn't know it did this. So we'll add the node starter config to your repo, add a new branch. Then we'll kick off your first pipeline. If you prefer to add that config file manually instead, okay, I'm gonna let it do it. All right, that's nice. So because it has access to your GitHub, it's gonna create a new branch for us. And this build is gonna fail actually. Why is it gonna fail? Well, it might fail. I don't remember what was in there, but let's take a look at what it actually just did. Let's check that out. This song is equally as annoying as the other song, to be honest. But I'm gonna let it play. No, not Mastermind IO. We care about this. Gave us a new branch, so Circle CI project setup. So let's take a look at that. So how do we change branches? We could change branches by doing git pull or git fetch -a so that we can get the newest branch that is here. Circle project setup. So git checkout. That's how you get a new branch. And we just need to check this branch out. So now we're on a new branch called Circle CI project setup. And let's take a look. We now have a Circle CI folder. And if we take a look at that, inside of there is our config.yaml. And this is the config.yaml in which they've given us, which looks very similar to the one that we had before. This one's using orbs. Okay, that's fine. Orbs is an interesting concept. We're not gonna dive too deep into orbs tonight because I think that can confuse things a little bit. And it's relatively new. It's not new, but it's relatively new. And you don't need them. They just help with things. So looks like it gives us a default thing. It says it's going to create a job called build and test, and it's going to execute no default. This has to do with the orb that's up here. It's going to check out the code, node with cache. I don't know. It's going to do an npm install and an npm test. So let's see if that worked. That actually might have passed. That might pass. So it actually did in fact succeed, but actually, yes, it did what we needed it to do. So it did the continuous integration piece of what we needed. By default, that's really nice. This project was already set up for that. So first, you can see here that it did use that image that was created. So we kind of got that right out of the box. It prepared the environment variables. It checked out the code that we just pushed, or that it pushed. It used the cache if there was already a cache here, but there wasn't already a cache because this was the first run. It ran the npm install, which is nice. And that is what we did to get the thing running. And then it ran an npm test, which basically ran the same thing that we ran. And you can see the output here. This is the same output that we were looking at. There's a few more lines here. It just didn't, in this view, we can't see it, but this is the same exact output that we got. If we go way on up, never mind, it's gonna be way farther up than I thought. Man, I can't even go that far. Okay. But it did in fact, that did in fact work. and then it saved that cache. So now we have a cache version. So right now, this is currently running on the Circle CI project setup branch. We can go ahead and we can get this code into master. But let's start modifying this code to do a little bit more. So let's say now, run npm test, just to show you that each of these is just a Linux command. I can do another -run, and I can just like echo, this is a new step, just to show you how this works and to show you that it'll pick it up immediately. Actually, workflows build and test. Yeah, let's do that real quick. So we're gonna do a get status, get add, get commit, added new run step. And we're gonna push that. And very quickly, we're gonna see that it's now running a new one. It caught that super fast, and now it's gonna go ahead and it's gonna build this thing. Will I accept new push requests? Yeah. Yes, to this I will. I'm gonna get this into master. If you want to submit a PR for sure. If you want to change some stuff with it. Is this Circle with this project's assistance or through GitHub? This is through GitHub, if I understand your question. What is the Vim plugin that shows white space characters like that? I don't remember which one it is. Yeah, check out that one. I don't remember what the name of it was. I'll check it out in a second. But you can see here, it actually ran my new step. Pretty simple. Echo is a new step. It did in fact run. Restoring cache, it actually restored some of these things already for me, which is nice. But pretty simple. We added a new step to the build process pretty easily in the YAML. Pretty dope. But let's do a couple more things really quick. Let's test it out. Let's test out a few things to just kind of see how everything works, and then we'll go ahead and we'll extend it to be larger than it is now. Maybe we can build an image, push that somewhere to kind of do the delivery portion of this after we confirm the tests are good. But let's break the build really quick. So let's say we did all that and we go back into, was it test scripts? We'll break this again and we'll say it should be expecting again, but not back here. Actually, let me tell you what let me push this and then I'll tell you what the name of that plugin is. Git, did I already add it? Add -m, broken, test, added. All right. So immediately we should see another build kick off. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And again, you only get one of these at a time on the free tier. But let's take a look at this. It's checking out the code now. So you can see everything as it's happening in real time. Run cache. Doing an npm install. npm test. And this is where that should actually fail because we broke one of our tests. Yes, you could do GitHub Actions. So GitHub, this already had a GitHub Actions thing in here by default. I didn't use GitHub Actions because I don't have a lot of experience with GitHub Actions, and I was unable to get GitHub Actions to work for a simple Hugo site. I could not get it to work. I tried a bunch. It's pretty interesting, and there's some reasons. There's some things that like kind of suck about it. I'll talk about it in a second, but you can see this build failed and it's red, and yeah, it'll probably shoot me an email saying that it failed in a second, but that it did fail. So what's interesting about this is, again, this is our first line of defense into the quality of our code. You know, if our tests aren't passing, we know that there's probably something wrong, or maybe there's not something wrong. Maybe the code that we implemented, we had some new functionality and we implemented that functionality, which changed some things. And then you need to make sure you're updating your tests accordingly, because the tests are written by you or the team. And so you got to make sure those things are up to date. But let's say sometimes there's some other things that can cause problems. Sometimes a build can fail because maybe when I try to grab packages, I tried to do an apt update or something. Maybe there was a network hiccup. Maybe those servers were down. And once the problem is resolved, I can actually rerun the build from here if I need to, if I think it was broke because of a different thing. I can rerun it from the start or from where it failed. But the thing that I like most about this is when you're first learning how to use this, you can rerun the job with SSH. And actually, it's not going to allow me to log in because I don't have any CI key. I don't have any SSH keys set up on here. But rerunning with SSH is good because what's happening during this build process, it is simply just running. It's running this on a Linux server. This is nothing special. There's really nothing special about this. It may seem like this is a fancy thing. It is just running your build on a Linux server. So if you're not sure what's happening, maybe you're seeing some oddities with the directories that you're using, or like you don't know what's going on, or you're not sure what command to run to fix some things, you can log in, you can rerun it with SSH, you can log in, and after you log in, you can run the commands manually yourself to figure out how to resolve things. Like maybe you're figuring out whether or not a package exists, or maybe you're figuring out, you know, what is available to you. And so you can just grab this SSH thing here and you could log in. It's not going to let me again. Oh, it is. Maybe I do have keys on here. But it's actually logging me into a container here, I believe. And so I can log into my project folder, and I can see here, this is all the code that it downloaded from us. Like this is the code that we uploaded. This is our project, which is nice. So this is the workspace that it has. And I could see in here what was good or not. And I could, you know, if I wasn't sure what was going on with the test, I could try to fix it here. Again, maybe I tried to call something that wasn't available to me. And I could, you know, see what was going on here, but I can log in and figure out what's happening. At least from what I know, GitHub Actions does not allow for this yet, which was very problematic. The problem that I was having was it would build my site, it would build the right files, it would build out all the HTML and CSS that was needed. But whenever I pushed it to GitHub, it was like referencing the wrong directory. It would only push an htaccess file, and it would basically break my entire site. And I tried so many things. And I think, again, I just think it's just due to the immaturity of that platform in comparison to this one, and the lack of, because of that immaturity, not necessarily with the technology, but more so with the documentation. I couldn't find anything to fix it at all. Like I tried. Terrence saw me, man. Terrence broke it. Terrence did break it, but he saw me being frustrated over here, not being able to fix it. But that is something that you can have available to you. But so far, you should really be able to see how this is just basically running some scripts. It's not wild. And again, it does give you a lot of paradigm. Like you could have it run. You could basically write a script to build your stuff and paste it in and have it just run that if you wanted. That's not the best way to do it. Again, Circle does have paradigms in here. Like, remember how I manually did the branching stuff? I could say Circle CI, specify branches. Filter branches, that's what it is. 2.0 config. So again, it takes a long time to figure out how to do this properly, and understand their documentation and understand how to configure things properly. But filter branches, let's see. Jobs, build branches only. Let's copy this. This looks like what I want. Circle, config. The build. Paste this here, and we're gonna say only build on the master branch. Don't build for anything else. Don't try anything else. Only build when the master branch is there. And again, this is configuration you wouldn't know about unless you went through the documentation and figured it out. But again, it has a lot of things in there that are nice. So instead of me doing what I did in the previous on my stuff like this, it's better to do it this way. To say on the, I had a build and I had a build Hugo thing, and then I had a push to AWS job. Under the push to AWS job, I will put branches only master. And so it will still build my code, make sure everything could build properly, but it would not push, which is nice. So I can show you how I can implement that and change my code over there. And so now, because I'm only building on master, watch this. When I do git add, and I do a git commit, and I say enabled branch filtering, because that's what I did. And I push this. And we look back over here and look at our pipelines. Oh, actually, check this out. Oh, is this the last? I have an error in my jobs. So I actually have an error in my config file. So let's check out and see if we can see what that is. Expected type string found mapping. Job may refer to a string of another job. So I did this improperly. There is a, if you're unsure, so this process can be kind of annoying because you have to make changes and push. Circle CI does provide you some command line tools to validate whether or not you have valid a valid setup, which we can download, but extraneous branches is not permitted. Only one schema matches out of 2. Let's see what we did. Did we do something wrong here? That seems right, but maybe we didn't. Let's look back at the example that was given and see, this is what can suck. So build, underneath the build is where they put branches. Seems right. Underneath the build is where they put branches only, instead of, let's see, let's work this out. This is the worst part about doing this. Go back to where we were and see if we can get this knocked out. 0 subschemas match instead of 1. Extraneous key branch. I'm Googling this error because I don't know what it is. Oh, there we go. Oh, this has to do with a version thing. Validate. These filters are incompatible with the workflow. All right, this might have to do with a version, with the configuration version, maybe. Let's see. What version are we using? We are using 2.1. Issue with branches, only master. If you're using 2.1, you will need to add workflow in order to use filtering. So it needs to go down into the workflow section. All right, that makes sense. So it just needs to go down here instead. So we'll take this, we'll remove it, and it needs to go jobs, build, Filters, branches. Oh, that's terrible. So it needs to be filters, branches. Is it only? Is that what they did? That is what they did. All right. So just take a look at that. I guess that's how we do it. I guess for this version. So I guess previous to version 2.1, we could do it the way that we just did it, but now it must be in this workflow section. And again, this is why configuration can be annoying. Can be very annoying because of changes just like this. You have to refer to the documentation or to someone else's answer online to get exactly what you need. And again, that just comes with messing with it and taking time to do it. I don't expect anyone to remember how to set these things up by default, because again, it's not something that you generally work on a whole bunch. So let's do that. Git add, actually just rerun all the same commands. Add, commit, let's go filtering and workflows. What's up, Oxder Pamine, Oxder Pamine. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. Good to have you. Let's push this up. And actually, we're gonna make this change in our repo as well, so that we can remove what we have. It accepted it. Let's see what happened now that this pipeline. Okay. All right, it gives us another thing. So it's still wrong. And you know what? Let's do this. Circle CI validator, validate config. Quick installation. All right. It looks like we can just download this. We can validate it. Error occurred. Maybe I should need to do sudo. Assuming, or does it need to be here? There we go. So what do I run? Circle CI help. Config. So this is the command line validator, validate. Okay, so now it tells me the same thing that they're getting there. I can see here, unable to parse YAML, mapping values not allowed here in string, line 19, column 19, filter. So something's wrong on line 19 of our config. Filter, let's take a look at the error that we got. Or at the answer. Oh, filters, not filter. So let's see if that's the problem. That seems like a weird problem. No. Unable to parse YAML, mapping values are not allowed here in string. What in the world am I doing? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing? Oh, got it. Maybe. All right, let's check that out. Okay, so what we had missing was this colon here after build and test. Even though it worked previously, it did not work. It did not work. But this is what they want for us to add filters. To add filters to this job, so this job right here is referencing, so basically you can specify a number of jobs up here. You can specify as many jobs as you want. These just tell you, like, those kind of specify the script of what happens. These workflows are you basically list out the jobs that you want to use. So you can specify a bunch of different jobs, and then you have specific workflows that only run, specific jobs in a certain order if you want. And that is why the branch stuff goes down here now. So I can say only run this workflow here, or only run this piece of the workflow on this branch. So now I think we have it right. We have valid YAML. and we can, run through our process. Git add dot circle git commit -m fixed workflow branch filters. And we can push it now. I hate not using keys. I need to re-download the keys here. I was doing too much moving around. All right, so let's see what happens here. Yeah, excellent. There we go. This is good. So it says no workflows to execute for this pipeline. That's great, because we don't have any workflows to execute for. This is not the master branch, so we cannot, we don't have anything to execute here. So how we can we'll push this in the master in a second, but that's just to show you how this kind of works. You can do other things, like instead of doing an only, you can do like what's the opposite of only? Except, I think, or something like that. So you can like specify, only don't run it on this branch. I could say build on every branch but master. I can also do tags as well. So it works on both branching and tags if you're familiar with those things in Git. But again, you have tons of configuration options to handle that. So I was going to extend this, but like it's already 10:16. The thing that we are going to do though is we are going to fix ours to use that now. We're going to fix the actual mastermind build stuff to fix that now. So now you're seeing real life build fixes. These are pipelines that actually put things in order. So we'll go to mastermind.io. We'll check out the Circle CI config, and we have a bunch of stuff here. So our workflows underneath the build, we will put what's the filters, branch, only, master, I think is what we wanted. Okay. And then we can modify our code that's up here. So I don't need this anymore. I can simply do have this. I don't need this if statement. I don't need this else. Yeah, there we go. I think this will work. It's cleaner. I can say only deploy on master. And let's go ahead and let's make a new branch. What branch are we on? Git checkout -b circle -update git add commit used circles branching filters instead of implementing manually. I don't know. And if I push this -u origin, what origin is this? What did I call this branch? Circle update. So I created a new branch with these updates. Whoops. It should not build actually, because I told it not to, because this is not the master branch. Change this to mastermind.io. Config does not conform to schema. No. Why is that? I might just call all kinds of problems. This did not work because different version, and I bet I can't just change the version here, but we'll see. We'll see. This is actually not a good idea. You shouldn't do this, but updated schema version. We'll see what happens. And maybe one day we can update this config. Well, I have to update this config for the new schema version. And so, yeah, this did not work because I have there's been other changes. I think, build, filters. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that has to change here. So good thing we did that in a branch. We'll fix that in this branch later. But right now that is broken. Okay, again, the goal of tonight was not to memorize how to do these things. The goal is so you can see us push code a couple times so that you can see kind of what happened. So that you can see this automated build process going from the code that's on your computer into GitHub or wherever your source code repository is, wherever your source control management happens at, whether that's Bitbucket or GitLab or whatever, and watching the process of that code being integrated and tested automatically, that automatic process of being able to validate your code, making sure your code still works, and then the process of also developing the artifacts, so building that code, if that's the case, or creating a Docker image or whatever, and putting that somewhere. So you saw in S3, it built the Hugo site and pushed those files into S3. And in that example, that was also the deployment. But there's a number of ways to deploy different things, but that step could be actually rsyncing the files from the build pipeline to your server. Maybe it puts them directly on your server, and maybe it clears the caches so that everything's good to go. And maybe it notified, maybe it emails someone, maybe it does, something like that. But just showing you the paradigm in which you can add this automation, add this functionality to building your code. This is all CI/CD pipelines are. So whenever you're on an interview and someone starts talking about CI/CD, it's not this wild thing that you have to memorize. There are caveats within there. There are things that you do pick up during those processes. There's some really cool things you can do with CI/CD. Like people do cool things like we created this new branch. This new branch is called like config test or something like that. Maybe if you were doing feature branches, so maybe I'm working on a feature of the site that's called a new homepage or something. You can set up your CI/CD process to do much larger things like deploy a whole environment that's dedicated to displaying only that new feature that you had. And then once it's all good, you can tear it all down, through the process. So again, these pipelines, they're just a way of you automating these pretty simple processes. The processes are what take time to learn, like learning that you can do something like that, period, in life. Learning that I can make a new environment based on the Git tag, which is a thing people do. This is pipeline agnostic. You can do these things manually. Anything that you can do manually, any kind of process you can do manually, you can do using one of these tools. They're all very similar. Like Travis is very similar to this. You log into Travis, you put a config inside of your repo, it watches that, and then it does what you tell it to do. It does take time to get your build set up and understand what to do. You can see just changing that simple schema cause all kinds of problems. Again, this is a problem whenever you're configuring something. Like you are telling Circle what you want in the manner and the language in which they want you to tell them. So you have to reach out to them. You have to look through their documentation to figure out exactly how to set up your configuration so that it does build properly. And that's all the build is figuring out how to pass in the right configuration to get it to work. Again, we also know that we can, if our builds fail and we can't figure out why, we can log in using SSH to be able to to see what's going on, to give us a little more information about those things. We can get some good feedback from this as well. These concepts, the concepts for Circle that we just did tonight, apply across the board to Jenkins as well. There are many more pieces of functionality. There are all kinds of extra stuff that you can do in there. I also want to show you real quick. And again, I always go to this just because it's a project that I know, but the USSBA the front end is completely open source, so that anyone can kind of check this out. But let's take a look at the circle config that we are using here for an actual production setup of a site, a build pipeline for this site. So this one's much longer, 455 lines. That may seem super confusing, but let's actually take a look at it to see what it is. So you can see here, it looks very similar. We set up some workflows. We have a test, build, and deploy, and we're specifying the same branch filtering here. So we're saying, hey, only deploy on all branches. This is just a regex here, but only deploy on these tags. So we actually use tags to do things rather than branches for a number of reasons. But we have this entire workflow right here. Has a bunch of different things. So let's say it caches dependencies. We have cache dependencies upper. So for upper and lower, basically those are our production versus development environments. And we run our tests. And we will have a couple different types of tests, Jest and Poiro and Mocha tests and linters. And then it does some things, it builds Webpack. It has a bunch of steps to be able to create a package that we can deploy, to create that artifact that we can deploy. But then we have some other stuff in here. So you can do cool things like this. Deploying a package requires that the package has already been uploaded. So uploading is a thing that's up here. And this upload package step requires us to build the package first, because you can't upload the package unless you've already built the package, and you can't deploy the package unless it's already been uploaded. So you can create these like chains of requirements here, which is nice. But you can also take some action like this. Where is it? We have this hold step here, which is a job. So you can add in a step that basically it goes through and it builds. This is currently how we have it set up right now, but it goes through. And even if you try to push to production or staging, it'll run all the tests. It'll do all the things that it does in every other environment, but then it'll stop and it'll wait for a click button approval. So it's a little gate. You can set up these little gates, which are nice. And it says, hey, everything looks good. This thing is ready to go, but I need someone to come in and manually confirm that this is what we want to do. Make sure someone didn't accidentally push to this environment. And you can go ahead and do that. So that's really nice. And again, this only runs for our upper environments and things like that. So that's pretty cool. It won't deploy unless you have an approval. So it requires that it must be approved first, which is nice. But you can see here, there's a lot more things, a lot more options here as a project gets built out. When we first started, again, it was much shorter than this. Our original circle config was very much like the one that it gave us by default. It was probably only 30 lines of code or so. And then we've added many over time to support what we're doing. But you can also see that they all look very, like each of the little blocks looks pretty similar. So like it's not rocket science. It really isn't rocket science. But it makes it nice. It makes it super easy to kind of add to and extend. So that's just an example of what a production, quality one might look like, the kind of steps it might have in it. But it also might just be one or two steps. It all depends on what your use case is, and you can make it as extensive or as simple as you'd like to make it. You can see here, I am a contributor to this, only 5 of us. Yeah. So, I would recommend, if you're trying to get up to speed using Circle, or doing any CI/CD stuff, it's free to do. It's free to get involved with. So just mess around. I say, create yourself a repo, grab someone else's code, grab one of our little random repos that we have here, and see what you can do with it. Again, like it's play with it. It's free. It's free to play with. Hop in here, clone something, and make changes. Maybe find someone's stuff that works. So that's that GitHub project for Node.js. If I go back into it, where was it? It actually had a Node.js.org. Can I git branch? I already pulled it. Never mind. But it had whoa. It had a .github in here. So check this out. .github workflows. So check this out. This is GitHub's GitHub Actions. This is how you set up their stuff. You can see it's also just JSON, and it may be a little simpler for you. I highly recommend using it. If you want to keep everything in one place, you don't want to use a different tool. GitHub Actions will in fact work. You can take this, you can clone what they have, set up your own GitHub Actions, and it will build it. And then practice like changing some of these things. Take a fully working build. And maybe change some things to see what it does differently, or see if you can add additional functionality, add a new step, add something that does some further testing, maybe add some tests and see if those things work. But yeah, you can mess around in that way as well. But cool. That's all CI/CD is. Not anything crazy. The tools take a little bit to learn, but the process itself isn't that crazy. It's just a script runner. Is like that Code for America. Code for America is a nonprofit that I think it partners with like the cities to help local municipalities to have people volunteer and do stuff, I think, but I don't know. All right, 88 Opus. Yeah, stay COVID-19 safe. Skip the gym. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna skip the gym, and I'm definitely not lifting weights. They're kind of across the country. I think it's a way for you to kind of practice, for people to kind of volunteer and start solving problems for different areas, which is great through code, which is nice. It's really cool. And maybe we'll do there's some stuff more specific to Baltimore that we're probably going to be doing some cool stuff with as well, but mostly web dev stuff. Yep. And again, just a reminder for anyone who wasn't on in the very beginning, this Saturday, we're going to be, for all the meetups that have been displaced from all this stuff, the meetups who can't meet because of all the quarantines, Baltimore Code and Coffee, we're kind of partnering with them this weekend, and we are running a Docker workshop from 9 a.m. to 12 on Eastern time. Again, it'll be the first half will basically be what we learned in the 2 Docker sections, but we'll be doing a little bit of extra stuff that's a little more software development focused for them then. So if you want to join in, if you have a meetup who's been displaced, we're kind of doing a super meetup on that day online on the stream. So you'll see me streaming then if you want to check it out. If not, no big deal. But again, keep an eye out for tomorrow. Keep an eye out for tomorrow. Hopefully there's some big announcements coming out tomorrow about next week in particular. But I don't want to say anything yet because I'm still trying to confirm some things first. But cool. That's cool. We've been displaced. Yeah, I'm going to post that information will be coming out tomorrow as well about the thing on Saturday, like the official information about exactly what we're going to be covering, and just information about it. If you want to share it with anyone, feel free. I'll share it during the streams. I'll share it every day this week on the stream as well as social media. So cool. All right, who is online? Prime Again's already over 100, so let's see if we can get him higher. We need to go over the Prime Again to find out. We have to rate the Prime Again so we can find out who gets the LaCroix sponsorship. Like I said, I just found out about it, that he's trying to get one too from LaCroix. I saw a tweet earlier today. So we're gonna head over there and we are gonna find out what's going on. The Man, I'm never gonna Prime me again. Prime me. Never gonna get it. Invalid username. Look at that. /raid. Let's do it. Let's copy. THE Prime Agan. THE Prime Agan. Got it. Cool. Thank you everyone for the great stream tonight. We're going over. Don't forget on Tuesday we're going over monitoring. And observability. Observability is super important in DevOps. So we'll be doing that. And then if you're on Python, we're doing another big capstone project this week, some web scraping, some fun stuff. So join in on that. If you're interested, next week we have our panels, our Ask Me Anything engineering panels, and we'll be learning how to get jobs. So cool. Let's head over to Prime again and find out about this this LaCroix sponsorship because I really want to know. All right, everybody, have a great night.